City Matters.
Hello, and welcome to Ordinary Heroes. I'm your host, Bernie Furshpan, here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center on our podcast platform, hmTV. I have a very special guest today, Dr. Dan Holtzman, the Assistant Superintendent of the Great Neck Public Schools. Thank you, Dan, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Bernie.
We came back about a month ago, maybe even less, right?
Yeah.
From a very special event that both you and I have been, our lives have changed to some degree.
Yeah.
The way we think has changed to some degree.
Sure.
We attended and produced Day of Hope at the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance. Mm-hmm. And you were very much involved. You participated and ran with Kelly Wright, mm-hmm. the student roundtable. How was your experience there? Did you enjoy yourself?
It was an amazing experience. Just to be able to be in the room, literally where it happens, but sit with students. And of course, sitting with Kelly Wright was an honor in and of itself. But the questions that we asked the students were enlightening. Their answers were enlightening. I'm not trying to boast about my questions, but the answers were enlightening. One question that really stuck out for me, and Kelly and I had talked about it after the fact, was, the question where we asked the students whether or not they believed they had a responsibility with their craft and with their art and with their music, given where they were, in Jerusalem, in this time in history, during a tumultuous period in Israel's history as well. Did they believe that their work had more far-reaching impact, and did they believe that they had a responsibility to ensure that it did? And not to my surprise, but it was interesting to have this conversation, because I also wondered whether or not a question like that had ever really been presented in that way, about having a responsibility. But they unanimously agreed that they believed that they did. I had recently presented at my most recent Board of Education meeting, sharing my experience. And one of the things that I had said was that the music and this school, because of the diverse makeup of the student body, was really the great unifier. And I always believe that music and the performing arts bring people together. But I think our purpose here was greater than that. We can always bring people together to watch a show or listen to music. Right. But there was a greater purpose to this. And I think that really resonated with the musicians. I think that resonated at that table in that moment in speaking with them. I think for them, the work and the preparation and the inspiration for the Day of Hope really reinforced that idea of responsibility.
You took it to the next level. The original purpose of creating Day of Hope was to enlighten the Israeli community and the international community of the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance and what they do there. They are the perfect model of what coexistence should look like.
For sure.
Inside those walls, we have multiracial, multi-ethnic students from all around the world.
Yep.
And they get along beautifully, and they perform together, and they become very close friends. And so it proves a point. But you took that insight and you took it to the next level, and you brought it back here, and you've had your own epiphany about what you can do in your school system, in your school district, with this information.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with that. And I did watch the presentation that you made to the Board of Education, and it blew me away. So you obviously are perfect for this particular mission here, because you see the wisdom behind it. You see what it can accomplish for students, for the administration, for the instructors, for the audience that attended. They were moved.
Yes.
People that attended the entire day were moved by this experience. We had initially an opening ceremony where I had brought some certificates from elected officials here in the United States.
Both who represent Great Neck.
Correct, and that was coincidence. They declared that day of hope. We had a message from U.S. Ambassador Huckabee during the event, the concert, I should say. So we had this opening ceremony, and then we had some interviews with some of the key players there, some of the leadership of this event. And then we went to the dance hall where there was this healing dance, which was so special. People were crying. I saw some people in tears. They felt this connection with other people. So the arts proves that it is a unifier.
Yep.
And then we had lunch, and then we had the round table, which we can discuss in a little bit more detail. And then we had a multicultural concert. We also had, during the round table, we had some opera singers, which made it so much more interesting because it was the young voices concept. We had young voices singing and young voices speaking. And then we had the reception, and then the finale, the grand finale, was the concert at night. And Kelly Wright, he killed it. He was great. A White House correspondent. Kelly Wright is also a fantastic R&B singer. We had Ghazal Mizrahi, who also knocked it out of the park.
As she always does.
Yes, and she was terrific. She was on radio this week, and she's really blowing up, and we're very proud of her. Also, Itai Benda, who is a social media influencer, and he sings to people around the world, and he talks to them, and he says, you know, I'm Jewish, I'm Israeli, and they're like shocked. You know, kids from Afghanistan, they're blown away by the level of musicianship. And he knows over 50 languages. So I don't know anybody who knows more than 3 or 4 languages, let alone 50. So it was quite an event. Now, this was 10 full hours. And I got to be honest with you, I lost sleep nights before because I'm saying, oh, my God, what am I doing? This is such a long day. People are going to be exhausted by the time we get to the concert. I was so energized from this experience. I can't believe that it was 10 hours. It went so fast.
I think the varied nature of how the day was broken up really helped move the day along.
Yes.
I think had it been more of a repetition of performances and been more of the same over the course of the day, I think it probably would have lost some momentum. But I think that because it was so varied and it gave people time to think, it gave people time to really reflect and really just enjoy the moment, and it wasn't rushed. It was just really timed out well, and the differences between the performances, I think, really made a difference. And just a point of reference that, you know, the students that perform together and learn together, nothing else matters. You know, where they came from, their religious background, their political leanings, their socioeconomic standing. None of that matters. They're there for a purpose, and that purpose is to create music and perform and learn together and teach each other. And it really was and is, you know, a beacon of that kind of work, that you can have people from all around the world come together, and the common purpose is music and the arts. And we could always bring people together, right? The arts, people come together for concerts, people come together for shows all the time, but then they leave.
Right.
There isn't a, hey, what do we do now with this experience?
And they kind of take for granted the fact that they're all enjoying it together, and
Right.
they're all laughing together and applauding together.
Right.
They are really a unit.
Right. And so if we can recognize that, like in this moment, if we say people can be in this room together of fill in the blank, faith, religion, ethnic background, whatever, but we can all agree this is a beautiful piece of music. We can all agree this is a beautiful performance. Isn't there opportunity for us to talk about more?
Very good. Very good. So let's unpack the round table. Were you surprised with some of the answers, or did it reinforce what you had already expected? And what did you get out of it in terms of, you know, what's the next steps?
Well, I was hopeful that their responses would be what I would anticipate, and they were. It was reinforcing for me that they don't take, I should say, the experience that they have with each other lightly. They don't take it for granted. It is something that I think had drew them to the school to begin with. I think it's a choice, and you understand that who you're going to be learning with and learning from, and the work that's involved, and you're going to be doing the work together. I think that is the thing that really is the draw and was the draw for them. They do feel that sense of responsibility to do more with their craft and their art once they've graduated and moved on in the world. It's not about a career path. It's about and it's not just about entertaining. It's about what can we do as a result of this talent that we have and this skill set that we have. How can we do more? How can we do better for those around us, for our communities on a local level, and even on a country level, worldwide level? That's, I think, where their heads are. And so that was really inspiring for me.
So, a documentary is being made on this particular day. You're included, and I think it would be a great idea to show your students in your district the film once it's completed.
Sure.
Because I think they'd be very proud of you, honestly. It's quite...
And proud of you.
Thank you so much. And it's quite a thing that you did, quite honestly. That you were all in, 100%. And not one complaint. You took this very seriously, by the way.
Yeah.
I was watching you. You were very serious about this whole thing, and it meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it did.
And it meant a lot to me that it meant a lot to you. So there you go. Where do you see this going in the future? And what are your hopes for Day of Hope?
Yeah, so I had an epiphany on the 11-hour flight home and realized that, my district, Great Neck, is a very diverse community. And we talk a lot about that, and we're proud of that. We talk about our history of, we're the inspiration for Great Gatsby. Great Neck was where the original housing of the UN was first held. So there's a lot of history and a lot of greatness, not to use but there's a lot of greatness that comes out of the community. And we talk about the diversity. And I began to think, every time there's a concert, every time there's a theater production, a drama, a play, a musical, a cultural heritage night, this is what we're doing. I spent 3 days in Jerusalem at this school, and I began to realize, this is us. This is Great Neck. And so we as a district need to lean into that more. We need to we need to be the messengers of that. That needs to be part of the branding of our school district, that we can also serve as that beacon of hope, because that's what we represent. We've represented hope since the creation of Great Neck, and throughout its history. The one thing that we've always had is that feeling of acceptance and belonging. And we can rally around, the school district, because that's where our kids are, and they're our greatest commodity, and we can invest in the arts because we know how important it is from an educational level of, greater math skills and greater ability to communicate and analysis and things of that nature. But it's even more than that, because it's the thing that we all come together for, to see. We come into an auditorium to see our kids performing together, and nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Well,
so what would I like to see? I would like to see us leverage, the influential people that we're connected to. And I would love to see, this is pie in the sky maybe, but I would love to see someone at the UN take ownership of this, and schedule this type of day every year, where they invite ambassadors from who represent countries from all around the world, and have them sit together with everyday people.
Just reenact this whole process.
Just reenact the whole process, but have people like that in the room, and just acknowledge, now, wasn't this a wonderful performance? And we can all agree. The key is we can agree. And couldn't we then talk about other things and potentially agree more?
Right.
And I think that's...
Because we agree with more things than we disagree.
We do.
People don't even realize that. They didn't take it for granted.
Yep.
We agree on the language. We agree that we should all wear clothing. We should all agree. We all agree that we should follow the rules. We agree that this is a cell phone. We agree on 99.9% of the things.
Right.
But that 0.1% that we disagree on, we blow it up and we make it like that's why we're different, but we're really not.
We need to focus more on what unites. And so, as an example, an initiative we put together in our district is called Unity Day.
Right.
And it's going to happen this year at all 4 secondary schools. And there'll be some performances involved as well. But essentially what you have is students getting up in front of their peers and sharing a personal experience about themselves that gives people a little bit more of an insight into who they are. And so it tears down the wall a little bit. It exposes and creates vulnerability to the students that, I have a story and you have a story. I'm up here sharing this story. And I think it takes a tremendous amount of bravery and confidence to do something like that as a 16, 17-year-old student, to talk about your experience with financial struggles, that I'm not where I am today because my family comes from wealth. I'm here today because my family didn't come from wealth. You have students telling stories about how they came from one country to America. You have stories of students who experienced anti-Semitism. You have stories of students who dealt with family crisis and trauma of a parent who had cancer. And what it does, it opens up a little bit more of a glimpse inside that person. And it really helps people understand that we need to treat each other with kindness. Right. We need to be accepting because you don't know what another person's going through. And that also unifies. You can unify around empathy and vulnerability, but you can also then be vulnerable to and unite through music and the arts, because the academy was vulnerable that day.
So were we.
So were we.
I'll be honest with you. I lost some sleep over it because I said things can go sideways. You never know. Politics can get involved. But no, everybody understood the purpose of this event.
Sure.
And that is to unite and to prove the point, which is what the school is a microcosm of Israel, really. It's a country of coexistence. It's the only democracy in the Middle East. But it's also, the school is a perfect model of what coexistence should look like inside those walls and then outside the walls as well, because these young people become very close friends for a life. Yeah. And they perform together around the world.
And they become the next generation of influencers.
Influencers and healers, because the point of the
day was healing.
Was about healing and unification. So people are united and healed together with the arts, and that's what we proved that day. And so all of these graduates over the many years, the many decades of graduates and alumni that are out there in the world are out there healing the world. Really, that's really the point is. And so let me just digress for a second. Sure. Joanne and I picked you up at the airport.
Yes.
We were anticipating your arrival. Honestly, we were very excited. This was your first visit to Israel.
Yes, it was.
And the first thing we did was bring you right to the Western Wall. We walked right through that old city from in all the quarters there. We went through all the quarters.
We got lost. At one point, yes.
Yes, we went through the Muslim section, the Christian section, the Armenian section, and then the Jewish section. When we arrived at the Jewish section, there was the wall.
There was the wall.
As big as life. It's like, wow, here I am. And you had a mission.
Yeah.
And what was that mission?
I had a colleague who asked me to place a note in the wall.
Right. And there was a little room there for it,
And there was a little bit of room. People had been there before me, clearly. But it was an overwhelming experience to be in the presence of that kind of history and that kind of significance. But then to, at the same time, do something for a colleague that was meaningful to them at the same time. So it was really helping a colleague and supporting a colleague through a difficult time, and then having an experience that was very moving and one that certainly was impactful for me.
Dr. Dan Holtzman.
Bernie Furshpan.
Thank you so much. That's me. Your school district is very fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
In their system, and you do great things. And you're a huge contributor to society and to myself, and you're a great friend to many. And I'm grateful that you took the time to join us in this huge cultural and joyous event in Jerusalem. And looking forward to doing some more with you.
Yes, likewise.
So I'm very excited about that, and I'm excited that you were able to join me today to discuss it, to kind of like recap the event. And I'm grateful for all of you, our listening audience, for joining us today here on hmTV. I'm Bernie Furshpan, host of Ordinary Heroes. We'll see you next time.